You are paying to be exhausted. Rent swallows your pension. Utility bills arrive earlier than sunrise. Every night you lie awake fearing another deduction notice. You work extra hours just to pay for the fatigue. And now, you know it's time to change your life. But the scariest part is not the lack of money. It's the lack of a way out. The truth. Elsewhere, 120 week covers housing plus utilities plus food. No more jolting awake at bills. No more choosing between medicine and dinner. Only slower breathing, a hot meal, and afternoons that don't require opening your wallet. If 500 a month can buy you a month without fear, why keep paying for the old pain? Fold up the worry. Open the map. Choose a life smaller, deeper, and lighter. Like if you want to cut the cycle of bills. Comment, "I choose freedom," and I'll send you the path. Subscribe. Start turning the wheel right now. Dream it. Pack it. Go. 5. Guatemala, the forgotten Maya gem. Have you ever heard the bells of an old church ring across honey-colored stone streets, with a volcano in the distance wearing clouds like a crown? Guatemala doesn't shout for attention. She stands still like an oil painting, waiting for the curious to step closer. And if you're a single American retiree who wants to live slowly without counting every penny, Guatemala may be the gentle answer. A full life fits within about 520 month, roughly 120 week. Still with a roof, proper meals, internet to video call your grandkids every night, and mornings where coffee smells like memory. I like to start the day on the edge of Antigua. Open the wooden gate, sunlight spills across bougainvillea, sparrows chatter on tiled roofs. A small casita costs about $250 a month. One bedroom, tidy kitchen, red-tiled courtyard. Utilities and internet are around $70, enough for weekend Netflix and long-distance calls. Fresh food at the market? $150 a month easily covers vegetables, chicken, eggs, avocados. Those avocados the size of your palm, sprinkled with salt and a squeeze of lime. Suddenly breakfast becomes a festival of flavor. Getting around is unhurried. Lively local buses, the occasional taxi. You budget $50. For peace of mind, keep $50, $70 aside for basic health care. Add it all together, and the ledger closes at about $520 a month. Not luxurious, but full, and most importantly, free from the bill shocks back in the U.S. In the afternoon, the old town glows honey gold, the scent of Antigua coffee drifting in the wind. I meet Don Miguel, a third-generation coffee roaster. He says, "Every batch tells a story." We sit by his old roaster, listening to beans crackle. He talks much about Lake Atitlan, where the water is as blue as a fallen piece of sky. Morning boats glide silently, and 3 volcanoes stand like guardians of dreams. I go there for a few days. Miguel smiles. Let your heart settle like the lake. So that weekend, I take the bus to Atitlan. At dawn, sipping hot cacao, watching the sun shift from violet to gold behind the crater, you realize growing old isn't frightening. What's frightening is never truly living. When it comes to paperwork, Guatemala doesn't make it hard for travelers. U.S. citizens get 90 days on a tourist visa. Near expiration, you can extend in-country for a small fee or casually stroll over to Mexico to Belize for a few days and return. If your pension is around $250 a month, the Pensionado program opens the door to long-term residency with simple paperwork. And if your budget is only around $500, you can still live well on a tourist visa. Just remember the renewal dates, keep your lifestyle tidy, and choose housing within an expat community so paperwork doesn't become a headache. Healthcare here is like two halves of a leaf. The public system is wide but often overloaded. Private hospitals in Guatemala City or right in Antigua, however, give you real peace of mind. Doctors speak decent English, equipment is sufficient, procedures are clear, and costs are far lower than in the US. A specialist visit only costs a few dozen. If you carry international insurance, with evacuation coverage when needed, you can almost seal off the worries. Minor issues are handled quickly. Major ones have backup plans. And with the mild highland climate, most days between 20-25 degrees, your electricity bill won't be devoured by air conditioning. I know what you'll ask. What about safety? Guatemala is like a map with bright zones. Antigua, Atitlan, Zela, and darker spots to avoid, especially some areas of the capital. The secret here is the same as anywhere. Choose good neighborhoods, stick to well-lit paths, don't flaunt valuables, and use trusted services. In major tourist areas, tourist police are present to help. The friendly expat community will point you to restaurants, doctors, electricians, and even taxi drivers they trust. Living slowly in Guatemala is about practicing the art of knowing enough streets, enough people, and enough safety habits so tomorrow feels as peaceful as today. What I love about Guatemala is its emotional structure. Each day has its own rhythm. Morning is the sound of shoes on cobblestones. Noon is sunlight pouring through bougainvillea. Afternoon is the smell of corn dough for tamales. Evening is the church glowing like a giant night lamp. If you want to learn Spanish, this is an open-air classroom without walls. The shopkeeper will correct your pronunciation with a smile. The carpenter will teach you the names of each kind of wood. And children will laugh every time you mix up polo with pollo. And you'll be surprised to realize that with 120 week, you don't just buy meals and a roof. You buy a rhythm of life. Of course, no paradise is without its rough edges. Guatemala's downsides need to be said clearly. In the capital and expensive central areas, it's very hard to keep costs around $500 if you rent alone. You'll need to live in cheaper towns or share housing. Security is uneven. Some areas have crime, so research neighborhoods carefully, avoid late-night outings, and use trusted services. Public health care is limited. For high quality, you'll need private hospitals, and ideally insurance. And if you want long-term residency under the retirement category, the 1,250-month income threshold is a real barrier for ultra-frugal living. But if you accept the rules of the game, choose the right place, spend wisely, secure the right insurance, Guatemala will reward you with sunrises no money can buy. If you feel the forgotten Maya gem deserves a chance on your restart list, hit like to support. Have questions or experiences in Antigua, Atitlan, Zela? Comment and let me know. I read them all. And don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next journey, where 120 week still leaves room for joy and peace. 4. Nicaragua. The Golden Tile Serenade. Morning in Granada, sunlight pours down honey-colored walls, the sound of horse hooves echoes on cobblestone streets, and breezes from Lake Nicaragua sweep through rows of palms, their leaves rustling like crystal chimes. If Guatemala is an unopened book, then Nicaragua is an old letter found in a drawer. Simple, gentle, and warm enough to make you want to read to the last line. For a single American retiree seeking a life that is both modest and fulfilling, this place offers a very specific equation. 120 week, about 500 month, for a roof, proper meals, internet to video call your grandkids, and late afternoons watching clouds shift colors above a volcanic crater. I meet Doña Ana at Granada's market. She sells avocados, bananas, rice, beans, and smiles as if we've known each other from a past life. Breakfast is gallo pinto, rice mixed with beans, with eggs and a ripe pink avocado slice, plus a cup of coffee as strong as a tropical evening, all for less than $1. You don't need much money to live well, she says. You need good neighbors and a hot meal. Here, that isn't philosophy. It's a way of life. If you choose Granada or Leon instead of central Managua, costs fall within reach. A small one-bedroom or shared space runs about $250 a month. Managua's center might be $350, suburbs around $270, colonial towns even less. Utilities $75, internet $38, mobile $17. Local food is cheap: chicken, rice, vegetables, tropical fruit. $140 a month covers cooking at home with the occasional budget eatery. Transport is $25 using city buses or walking through historic districts. Keep $50 aside for basic healthcare visits. Added together, the ledger closes at around $500 a month. Each number is like a tile, laying the golden-roofed porch for a retirement lived in quiet peace. Everyday life follows a slow breath rhythm. At noon, sunlight naps on the balcony while church bells roll across tiled roofs. In the afternoon, lake breezes whisper. Children play soccer in the plaza. Adults sip tiste or chia, humble local drinks you'll love from the very first sip. On weekends, you can take a boat out to Las Isletas, over 300 green islets like beads scattered across the lake. Or catch the ferry to Ometepe, where the twin volcanoes Concepcion and Maderas cast giant hats over the water, trails winding through banana groves, mango forests, and sunlight golden as toasted rice. If you prefer the sea, the Corn Islands are a turquoise postcard: soft white sand, fish fresh from the net, and a wooden cabin just right for napping to the lull of waves. Paperwork in Nicaragua is as straightforward as the road around the lake. Americans get a 90-day entry stamp for a small fee. Near expiration, you can extend your stay within the country. And if you want longer-term stability under the pensionado program, authorities require proof of a minimum income of about $600 a month. A threshold not too distant for many. But if you're living on a $500 a month plan, the practical solution is still feet moving, eyes open, documents ready. Track visa dates, keep papers organized, and choose housing within an expat community so someone can guide you through the process. Healthcare here has two distinct halves. In Managua, some private hospitals are well regarded, with internationally experienced doctors, orderly services. Specialist visits cost only a few dozen, and basic procedures are far more accessible than in the U.S. Outside the capital, healthcare is thinner and capacity limited. That's why long-term residents often purchase international insurance with medical evacuation coverage and plan to handle major treatments in Managua. When health is not something you can bargain with, a solid plan is the shield that keeps you safe within a frugal budget. And safety? Nicaragua teaches you the lesson of walk slow to see clearly. Avoid politics, avoid crowds, avoid walking alone at night. Choose neighborhoods where foreigners already live. Use reliable transport services. Keep your passport and documents neatly stored. In Granada, Leon, and the Corn Islands, life runs gentler. Tourist police are more visible. Locals are friendly. You'll mostly face petty theft if careless. When you stick to safe habits, the reward is evenings on the porch, hot cacao in hand, the distant sound of guitar, and the smell of fresh corn cakes. I left Granada on a misty, rainy afternoon, the colorful bus bouncing over potholes as a boy dozed on his mother's shoulder. There is something in Nicaragua that softens people. The gentleness of a simple meal, The lake breeze, the mild sun, the pace of a life not in a race. With 120 week, you don't buy luxury, but you buy rhythm, neighbors, and days that leave you with stories to tell. Of course, every leaf has its veins. Drawbacks need to be laid out clearly so you can weigh them soberly. The political backdrop since 2018 keeps travel advisories at a high caution level. There have been reports of arbitrary arrests, so absolutely avoid demonstrations or anything that could be misunderstood as political activity. Healthcare outside the capital remains limited. You'll want good insurance and the habit of routine checkups in Managua to feel secure. At a budget of $500 a month, you'll have to stretch. Choose cheaper towns, possibly share housing, cook at home, cut back on comforts, and if a major medical or legal emergency arises, a reserve fund is essential. 3. Sri Lanka, the island of tea and waves. At dawn, the coastal train hums past stretches of turquoise water. The breeze carries the scent of dewy Ceylon tea leaves, while waves keep time like a giant metronome. Sri Lanka is an island that knows how to slow the clock. Enough for a single American retiree to breathe deeply, eat well, and live simply within the 120-week equation while still holding on to the sense of enough. To reach that figure, you step a little off-center, avoid downtown Colombo, and choose Gal or Matara instead. A small annex, one-bedroom, compact kitchen, tiled veranda, can run about $135–170 a month if you negotiate with a local landlord. Utilities $30–40, internet $15–25, mobile $10. Fresh foods are abundant: rice, lentils, leafy greens, ocean fish. Self-cooking keeps groceries at $140–160 a month. Trains, buses $20–30, and for peace of mind, add about $50 for a few basic visits to private hospitals. When the ledger closes, $500 a month appears not as magic, but as a small discipline. Living on the edge, cooking your meals, riding the train, and buying with the seasons. Life's rhythm is as minimal as its expenses. Morning, pour a pot of strong tea, break a crisp roti. Noon, head to the fish market. Tuna just landed. The vendor slips in a slice of lime for ceviche to cool you off. Afternoon, sit on the ramparts of Gala's fort watching kids play soccer while crows provide a carefree choir. Evening, rain sweeps by quickly. The scent of wet earth rising, waves lulling you into natural sleep. Sometimes change it up. Take a bus to Kandy, walk among the terraced tea hills, sari dresses like notes of color across the slopes. A prelude for anyone in love with the slow life. Paperwork is neat as a pen stroke. ETA, electronic visa, for 30 days. Extendable in-country if you wish to stay longer. And the My Dream Home retirement visa? The door opens when you prove $1,500 a month, beyond the reach of ultra-frugal living. The realistic option is planned tourist stays. Track your days, keep papers tidy, and live in areas with expat communities for guidance when needed. For healthcare, reserve Colombo for the big things. Private hospitals, Asiri, Nawaloka, Lanka, have modern equipment, English-speaking doctors, and consultations cost just a few $dozen. Far easier than in the U.S. Outside the capital, public hospitals vary in quality. That's why international or local insurance is a valuable shield. The coastal climate is mild, electricity bills stay calm. You live on breeze, sunlight, and the rhythm of trains tracing the shore like an endless green pencil line. A small story. Howard, 68, came to Gal with a backpack and a habit of insomnia. 3 months later, he still keeps to the $500 plan, living on the edge of town, cooking at home, taking the train. But he's gained 2 things: deep sleep, thanks to the steady waves, and a circle of friends playing chess under the lighthouse each evening. I didn't buy happiness, he laughs. I just made room for it. And here's the part you need to note carefully. Occasional unrest or protests. Do not join political gatherings. Petty theft exists in tourist spots. Keep belongings secure. Limit night outings. The retirement visa requires 2,500 month, so it doesn't fit the 500 plan. Public health care outside Colombo is uneven. Major cases should go to private hospitals in the capital. Language barriers, Sinhala Char Tamil, may slow your first days, but an Ayuba one with a smile will open doors faster than you think. If the island of tea and waves makes you feel peace flowing back, hit like on the video, comment tips for finding cheap housing in Gale Matara, and subscribe so you don't miss the next journey, where 120 week is still enough for a full life. 2. Laos, Mekong Zen. If there is a place where the clock agrees to slow down so you can hear your own breath, it is Laos. Morning mist settles on bamboo roofs. Noon sunlight spreads across the river's surface. Evening temple bells stretch out your heartbeat. Mekong Zen doesn't boast. Laos invites you, a single American retiree, to live with fewer things, less noise, but more peace. To keep around 120 week, the key is staying on the edges. Avoid downtown Vientiane. Choose Luang Prabang outside the old town, Vang Vieng by the river, or a small town. A bamboo bungalow shart long-term guest house can be negotiated for Justokya 180, 230 month, paid up front, 1 month stay. Utilities, 30, internet, 10-15, mobile, 5 loan. Living by the market keeps food around 140, 160 month. Sticky rice, leafy greens, river fish, papaya with lime, occasionally a local eatery for 10,000, 20,000 kip per meal. Transport, 20, walking, biking, tuk-tuk when needed. A basic health fund, $70, private clinic visits, common medicines. 490 month, not luxurious, but enough for a full circle of peaceful days. One early morning in Luang Prabang, I met Thomas, 70. I used to collect things, he laughed. Now I collect moments. His life is a soft grid of squares. Morning breathing by the river. Noon grilled fish with lime leaves. Afternoon black coffee watching kids run past. Evening rain tapping on the roof. And sleep arriving as naturally as a temple drum. In Laos, happiness is not bought. You just make room for it. Visa and residency. Tourist visa is 30 days, extendable for up to plus 160 days in Vientiane. Laos has no retirement visa. To stay longer, you must qualify under work, investment, marriage categories, or continue the cycle of tourist stays with extensions. The key: discipline with dates, tidy paperwork, and a clear temporary address. Healthcare. Treat Vientiane as your base camp. Private clinics, hospitals, Lao Japan, Midafab, Vientiane International Clinic offer basic care for a few dozen dollars. Common medicines are easy to buy. In the provinces, services are thin. Best to carry private insurance with a plan for referral to Thailand if needed. Gentle climate, light food, and walking habits are 3 natural preventive medicines. Safety. Risks are low, mainly petty theft in tourist areas. If renting a motorbike, check it carefully, take photos of its condition, and get a receipt. Avoid remote forest areas since UXOs remain scattered. The rest is slow smiles, golden lanterns, and purple dusk over the river. Drawbacks. Renting privately in central Vientiane rarely meets the 500-month mark. You'll need to live on the edges in provinces or share housing to save. Public transport is sparse. Much relies on walking and bicycles. Public health care is weak. Serious cases should go to Vientiane or cross into Thailand. No retirement visa yet. Long-term stays require other categories or accepting the tourist extension cycle. The Lao language is a barrier at first, and the small expat community can feel isolating if you don't take the initiative to connect. If Mekong Zen touches your wish for a slower life, click like, comment tips on finding affordable rentals in Luang Prabang, Vang Vieng, where $120 a week is still enough for a full life. 1. Bolivia, balcony of the Andes winds. Morning in Sucre, sunlight paints the whitewashed walls and red-tiled roofs. The air is dry, light as fresh paper. In Cochabamba, the moment a vendor cracks open a salteña, the spicy meat aroma rises like an invitation. Bolivia is the balcony of the Andes winds, high, close to the sky, and cheap enough for a single American retiree to live slowly without counting anxious beats. To lock in the $120 week 500-month budget, you skip pricey La Paz Center and choose Sucre or the outskirts of La Paz, Cochabamba. A modest one-bedroom runs about $236 outskirts as a reasonable start. Utilities $25.30, fiber internet $30, mobile $10. Eating from local markets. $150 month, cheap rice, chicken, 28 B's curry, abundant vegetables. For lunch, a full almuerzo with multiple dishes costs just a few coins. Transportation $15-20, cheap city buses, plus $40-50 for basic healthcare, private visits, common medicines. If you find a cheaper room or share housing, you can bring it down to $490-500. Enough for a warm cup of mate each afternoon and a book under the highland sun. The rhythm of life in Bolivia suits those who collect moments rather than possessions. Morning climbs up the stone steps of Plaza 25 de Mayo, with the pan flute weaving notes as fine as thread. Noon drifts into Tarabuco Market, where polera skirts spin into circles of color. Weekends on the bus to the valleys where the sky feels so clear you think you could touch the Cordillera with your hand. Need peace of mind about healthcare? In La Paz or Santa Cruz, there are many private clinics. Clínica del Sur, Foyanini. Skilled doctors and checkups cost only a few $dozen. Much easier on the wallet than in the U.S. Paperwork is straightforward. U.S. citizens need a tourist visa obtained at the border or consulate, valid for 30 days and extendable up to 90 days per year, though it comes with a sizable fee, so mark your calendar carefully. I met Mr. Miguel, 69, a former carpenter from Arizona. He moved to Sucre to see more sky than concrete. His afternoon ritual, buying a large avocado the size of his fist, a warm loaf of bread, and sitting on the balcony listening to the wind slip through the roof tiles. I no longer open emails like defusing a bomb, he laughed. I open the window. At this altitude, happiness is sometimes just breathing deeply without hurry. And here's the part to note carefully. The drawbacks all gathered at the end. Altitude, La Paz, 3,600 nalopers, can trigger mountain sickness, so ascend slowly and drink plenty of water. Public healthcare infrastructure is weak, so prioritize private hospitals and insurance with medical evacuation. Tourist visas are costly and limited in days. Plan ahead. Safety is average. Watch for petty theft. Avoid the Chapare region. Limit late-night outings and steer clear of protests or strikes that may block transport. If the balcony of the Andes winds makes your heart rise a step higher, click like, share your housing tips in Sucre, Cochabamba, and subscribe, so we can keep drawing the map of slow living with just $120 a week. You don't need more money to live more. You just need the courage to try 1 week at a new rhythm. Pack lighter, open wider. One small room, one morning market, one riverside road are enough to change the color of your life. Freedom isn't about how much you have, but how far you dare to step away from fear. If one moment in this video touched you, turn it into an itinerary. Like if you're ready. Comment the place you want to try. Subscribe so we can begin together.